Right guys, so we will go inside I think and just have a quick look inside. The gate is opened here of the mausoleum and who knows what we'll see in here. Morning everyone, welcome back to the channel. Grave visitations here. So today we are in St. John's graveyard here in Wexford town. A very historical old graveyard and a lot of history here. So before this place became a graveyard, the land belonged to an old medieval church and hospital that stood here centuries ago. The church disappeared in the 1600s, but the site stayed sacred ground, and over time it became the burial place we see here today. So for years it was overgrown and closed up to the public and stuff like that, and they cleaned it up. And what we see here in front of us is the Redmond mausoleum. So I suppose we're really here today to talk about this story, as well as looking at a couple of old graves as well. So this is the final resting place here of John Redmond and the Redmond family. So John Redmond, he was born in Wexford in 1856. He became one of the most important political leaders in Irish history. He led the Irish Parliamentary Party and fought for Home Rule, basically Ireland governing itself while still remaining part of the UK. So John also had unusually close ties, believe it or not, with the British monarchy. He met with King George V and Queen Mary in England, consulted with him during crucial political discussions, and was respected enough to be invited into royal circles. There are even accounts of him meeting other famous monarchs as well, which shows how high a level his influence was at the time. He moved comfortably in London among the political society, which was rare, I suppose, for an Irish nationalist leader back then. So, as I was saying, he was looking for the Home Rule, but everything changed during World War I. John, I suppose, wasn't really liked around that time because he encouraged Irish men to join the British Army, believing loyalty would finally secure Home Rule after the war. Many Irish people saw this as a betrayal, especially as the war dragged on and the political climate at home shifted. After the Easter Rising, his popularity collapsed almost overnight. So John passed away in 1918 after he went in for surgery in London and didn't survive the complications. Heart problems, I believe. He died far from home, but he was left there. His body was brought back to Wexford, and this is where things get interesting. He had a funeral service at Westminster Cathedral, which shows just how respected he still was in Britain at the time. Now, considering the long journey back, he would have been brought back from London by boat to Dunleary in Ireland, and then he would have been brought from Dunleary by train to Wexford here. Now, firstly, he was supposed to be buried in, or there was talks of him being buried in Glasnevin Cemetery. As we all know, Glasnevin Cemetery would have been a place for a lot of political leaders and people who fought in the Irish Revolution at the time. But because of the First World War situation and John wanting the Irish to fight for the British, he wasn't very popular, I suppose, and people were afraid that if he was buried in Glasnevin Cemetery, he would be looked down upon. So the family decided that he would be brought back here to Wexford town and interred in this very elaborate mausoleum here, and hopefully we'll be able to get a peek inside there. I'm not sure if we will, but we'll have a go at it and see what's in there. So I would imagine that John was embalmed in London, had his funeral service in Westminster Cathedral, and then would have been brought back here and interred in that big mausoleum. Now there's a lot of other graves around here as well from the very early 1700s. So we will walk around and read some of those as we get around to the Redmond Mausoleum. So the first one we'll go and have a look at here is this very old headstone. And we can see the symbols on it here. The moon and the sun. And it says, "Here lies the body of Anthony Laffin, who departed this life October the 16th. And you can see a date on it there, 1798, age 43 years old. So this is surrounded here by the old wall around the graveyard, and just across the way we can see a church there in Wexford town. A lot of apartments and office buildings surround this old graveyard as well. So this is erected to the memory of Elizabeth Nolan of Wexford, who departed this life in 1838, aged 22. Also her brother John Howland, who departed this life on the 9th of March 1849, aged 37. And down the bottom here we can see also Darby McGrath is the name. And we can see a couple of old stones there as well, markers, so they would have been people who couldn't afford headstones, so had a marker put there instead. A nice one up against the wall here. This is erected by Bridget Brown in memory of her husband Dennis Brown, who died the 3rd of April 1833, age 47. Also her son Dennis Brown, who died in 1836, only 10 years old. So a lot of old graves. A gem really, this old graveyard is here in Wexford town, and I can understand, I suppose, why it was closed for a long time. And it's opened until 3 p.m, so 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. here in Wexford town. If anybody was interested in coming here to visit, I would recommend coming here to see it, especially the history, you know, of John Redmond as well, and the connection there with the royalty and the Irish fight for freedom as well and all that. So we'll read a couple of more around here. So, for your charity, pray for the soul of Mary Keogh, who departed this life in 1855, aged 65. Also her son Thomas, who departed this life the 24th of August 1847, aged 25. And their daughter Eliza, she was 36 years old in 1859. So they're in great shape, some of these graves. I mean, the inscriptions are still very visible on them. Like this one here, This is James Fogarty, who departed this life in August. And there we see the date, 1767, age 60. Also of his children as well, it says. And then we have some old cast iron ones. And there's no inscription on these. So I'll come this way, and this is a chest tomb here. You can see how it's made with the brick. And there's a hole in the bottom of it there, but I don't think you'd see anything in there really. And this one is very, very old. Looks like to me, look at that. It's actually one of those burial stones that almost like a sarcophagus, where you would put the body in there. So this is standing up, they'd usually be flat, but you'd put the body in there, and we can see the hole just there in it. So that would be to drain the fluids, the bodily fluids from inside there. So that is old, and if I find out what date that is, I will put it over the video. So Wexford town here today. If you like this history, give the video a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. You can also hype the video as well. It's a new feature YouTube have, so if you want to hype it, please do so. It helps the channel out to grow. A lot of old graves down this side. And I'm just looking to see, can I find some that we can read? And we do have one here. So this is erected by Walter Broaders. And that is interesting. Look at that, Walter Broaders, postman, Wexford, in memory of his mother Eleanor Broaders, who died the 20th of April 1850, aged 81 I think. Also his sister Jane Ruth died 1835, aged 32. So there we have his profession written on the headstone, a postman back in the 1800s. How interesting is that? And I have seen a lot of those on my travels. A shoemaker, you know, all different types of jobs they had back then. Now this is erected to the memory of Joanna Hendrick, who died the 7th of March 1869, aged 70 years. And this iron cross here is Elizabeth Dorn, who died in February 1888, aged 37 years old. So there is a couple of old graves in here amongst the overgrowth, and I'm sure they will probably cut that part out and be much easier for people to get in there. Now there is a couple of headstones in there that are kind of broken up, you can see them all in amongst there. Believe it or not, there's actually a satellite dish in this old graveyard. How crazy is that? I think they need to get rid of that. A satellite dish. Maybe that's to contact the spirit world. Who knows what channels you need to be on to contact the spirit world. Tune in. So that's the back of the Redmond mausoleum. So there's numerous family members interred in there. All their coffins are entombed in there. And I've never seen inside there, and I don't think anybody else actually has ever looked in there to see what's in there exactly. Well, we can see the overgrowth on the top of it, Now those things at the top of the mausoleum, they're to look like, I think, the top of a cathedral maybe, or church. So they would have been purposely put there. Maybe that's the design the family wanted at the time as well. So we'll continue. Lots of leaves here fallen. So this is here like the body of Mary Byrne, who departed this life 1833, aged 72 years old. Now there is plaques at the side of the Redmond mausoleum, so we'll read those. So here lie the remains of John Edward Redmond, MP for Borough of New Ross, North Wexford, from 1885 to 1891, and Waterford City as well, up until 1918, and chairman of the Irish Parliamentary Party until his death, which occurred on March the 6th, 1918, aged 61. So that is John we were talking about earlier. And then we have underneath that then a Captain William Archer Redmond, MP for the East Tyrone for Waterford City and County. He died at Waterford in 1932, aged 45. And there's other names just here. Now they are hard to read. It has worn away the inscription. But just on the other side here, sacred to the memory of Edward Redmond and Anne, his wife, Patrick Redmond, son of above, who died the 9th of June 1799, aged 28. And then we have a John Redmond here of Somerton, who died 1822, aged 52. We have a Walter Redmond of Ballytrent. So these Redmonds would have come from Ballytrent House, and I'll put a photo of that over the video as well. And Walter died in 1822. So there's a number of other Redmonds that go all the way down there. A lot of Redmonds. And there's even graves just there, sadly, that are unmarked around this old tree here in the graveyard. Now this is here like the body of, looks like a Lawrence Neal, who departed this life in 1801, aged 66. So just where we're standing right now in front of the mausoleum, there's a very famous photo of a crowd of people, mourners here outside this mausoleum, who took a photograph back in 1918, and I'll show you that photograph right now. And that was taken back in 1918, and the mausoleum was covered in black ribbons, floral wreaths and stuff like that. And just up the very, very top, just there, was the words, "May he rest in peace." So how strange is that? Right where I'm standing now, that famous photo was taken back in 1918. So when you stand in front of this old mausoleum, you're not just looking at a family mausoleum, you're looking at the final resting place of a man who shaped Irish politics, influenced the British monarchy, divided the Irish public, and whose legacy still stirs debate today. Now John also had a younger brother, and he was a Major William Redmond, and he passed away in 1917, and he's buried in Belgium. And he was also a politician. He was the youngest brother of John. So apparently when William died, John's heart was broken, and he never really got over that his younger brother was killed at war. So John and his younger brother William were involved in several fundraising trips on behalf of the party, including a visit to Australia and the USA in 1883, when they raised £30,000. He accompanied Joseph Devlin to the US in 1902 when they met President Theodore Roosevelt and established 200 branches of the United Irish League, and was in Australia and the USA again in 1905. He supported his brother in accepting the leadership of Charles Stuart Parnell after the split in the party. When he refused a commission in the British Army in 1914, he enlisted as a private and rose to the rank of major before he was killed in action at the age of 56. And he is buried in Belgium, as I was saying. Right guys, so we will go inside, I think, and just have a quick look inside. The gate is opened here of the mausoleum, and who knows what we'll see in here. Now, I don't know if I can reach in here or not, but you can tell me what you see in there, if you can spot anything. So I don't know what I can see, but there is a hole just there, so it's hard to see inside the mausoleum. We can see the big lock on the door that's there, so we'll just close the gate again back to where it was. Yeah, so a lot of history, guys, in this old place. Very interesting, and it's a beautiful mausoleum. I think it's Gothic style, that mausoleum, maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And there's a closer look at the top. I was saying that they're meant to look like the top of a cathedral, maybe there. And just at the side of the mausoleum we have some tabletop old graves here with moss on them. So this is the body here of Anne Redmond, who died 1773, I think is the date on that. So very old, back to 1773. This is Patrick Doyle, who died in 1823, age 55. Also 3 of his children. John died in 1823, age 22. Bridget died on March the 14th, 1826, age 26. And Patrick died in 1830, aged 22, so very, very young to lose 3 of his children like that. So this is the area we were looking at earlier. There's that old satellite dish. Some of those graves are very, very bad there. They're not in a good shape. And that's the railing of the Redmond mausoleum. This is the grave of Henry Butler, who died in March 1849, age 49 years old. And the top is missing off that. So there's the dish, a satellite dish. I don't know, did somebody throw that over the wall from the other side? It's sad to see people dumping stuff like that in an old graveyard, so hopefully that'll get cleaned up. You know, and that's why I do a lot of these old videos as well of the graveyards, because it shines a light on problems that occur in cemeteries and old graveyards, that people might see something on my video and address it, and hopefully it'll get cleaned up then. And as we seen in my last video, in County Meath, that old mausoleum of the Winters family. It was used as a shed. There was a lot of stuff thrown around there, like cement and old rubbish really thrown around in there. So that was cleaned up, and now it's back to its former glory again. So the Winter family can rest in peace. But I'm not here to put this place down today, just highlighting one or two things that I come across on my walk. That's what I do, because it is a beautiful graveyard, as we can see the Redmond mausoleum there. And if you see anything on that inside of there, please let me know in the comments below. Comment what you think about this old graveyard. It is fascinating, especially the history that's involved. And a lot of these old places, I always say, they're like a library. And all these headstones here are books, because they all tell a story. All these people lived, laughed and cried, got married, whatever they did in life. And someday we will be in a place like this as well, so it's good to document. There's another old grave underneath all that there. Looks like 1805 is the date on that. Beautiful holly bush coming up to Christmas. As the recording of this video, it's the 4th of December 2025. Very close to Christmas. This is Johanna O'Brien, who died 17th September 1875, age 82, and her husband John. Couple of nice ones in here, old ones as well. Look at that. And this is Anne Howland, and it's hard to see because the date has sunken down there on the grave. And that is the old railing around this one. Seems to be kind of overgrown. Don't know if I can see a name or a date on it. In loving memory of John Tennant, who died the feast of St. John, it says 1888. And also his son Walter Joseph, he died in 1894. No, sorry, I'm just after hitting off a grave. So that is it from in here, guys. I don't think there's much more to see in here. Another grave there, Anastasia Burke, passed away in 1886, age 45. An iron cross. So this big whitewashed wall surrounds the old graveyard, that we can see the way back into Wexford town just there. So very interesting video here today. I hope you enjoyed it. And the Redmond mausoleum and the connection there with the Irish history, King George V, and his connection with John Redmond. So you never know what you're going to find in these old places. So if you like this video, guys, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all on the next cemetery adventure.